We have our friend Bryant's 1978 Corvette. Now, I've worked on plenty of them. I've driven them, but I've never owned one. Man, this thing is incredible, Dave.
John, this is not just any Corvette. This is an Indianapolis 500 pace car, one of only 6,000 made, and it's identical to the Corvette that led Tom Sneva and 32 other cars down to the green flag in 1978. This is so cool.
And I'll tell you, this thing was loaded with technology in 1978. What a perfect car we can use to compare old technology with new technology. Join us on Tech Garage as we do just that. Welcome to the high-tech studios of Tech Garage. And Dave, high-tech's the word, man. We like to look at the evolution of the parts, and our audience does as well, man. Cars have evolved, my friend.
In such a short time. They've only been around for 120 years, and we've gone from the first cars, the Benz going a few miles an hour, and now we got cars going 250 miles an hour, road cars.
Yeah, massive technology that made that happen, but here's kind of a cool example, Dave. Look at this mess, man. 1978, I couldn't even imagine being back then. I mean, you got a 350 engine on there, pushing, what, 185 horsepower? If you got the good one, you got 220, buddy. You are really on top of your game. What about the new one, my man?
The new one's amazing. Now, remember, the Corvette that we have is from 1978. 1977 was the first time somebody qualified at 200 miles an hour at Indianapolis. Tom Sneva did it. Well, guess what? A stock Corvette today goes 194, almost the speed of an Indy car from back in the 70s here. Makes 495 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. So that can really get it. And that's just right off the showroom floor.
Amazing. And you know, I was souping up my car going to the track, man. I got that thing to 14s. I thought I was flying, Dave, in 1978. Look at the Corvette's quarter mile at 15.2 at 95 miles an hour. Hang on, brother.
That was moving. Now you can do the quarter mile in 11.2 seconds in a stock Corvette. 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. That'll put you back in the seat.
But there's a price to pay for that, Dave. I could have got that Corvette for about 10 grand back in 78. Not the case today, my man.
In fairness, though, that was a lot of money back in 1978.
I guess you're right, yeah.
But it's a lot of money now, too. The coupe is $71,000. And if you want the convertible, almost $79,000.
And that's a lot of money. But I'll tell you what, technology has changed immensely. Let's talk about ignition systems, Dave. Back in the day, you're familiar with that.
Yeah, you got it. We had points, and then it went from there to electronic ignition, and then to a distributor with an electronic pickup here.
Yeah, that was complex. And then we had a distributor on those Corvettes. Everybody remembers the old OptiSpark up under the water pump. What a disaster that was. Then we went to distributor-less ignition systems. Love that. You don't have any moving parts. The distributor and coils were remote. We're down to coil on plug now, Dave. I couldn't even imagine going from this to that mess and having to work on it.
I cannot wait to see what is under here, man.
Oh, it's the Quadrajet. 4 barrels on that carburetor, man.
Best technology in the world right here, man. 70s technology.
Man, I can't imagine it getting any more complex than that.
John, we talked about spark, and of course an internal combustion engine needs spark, it needs fuel, and it needs air. And for 50 years, this is the way the air and the fuel were mixed. This is a carburetor, and of course you know it from the old days. And when you hit the throttle here, it opens the butterflies and it dumps in the fuel and the air, and the mixture, not all that precise, but computers came along, and that's when we got to the throttle body. It's essentially a carburetor with a computerized injector on it. So now, when you hit the throttle, the computer knows exactly how much fuel's going in, so it matches that with the air, and you've got a perfect mixture.
Absolutely. Then we did away with those altogether. As good as they got, well, no, we went to direct injection and we went to multi-port injection. Let's start with multi-port injection. You can see the fuel rail right here, and then we put an injector in every one of the cylinders, but we put them on top of the intake valve. So we're at the engine's mercy of vacuum kind of when the intake valve opened to get it down in there. But boy, we were precise. We were right on top of it. We thought we were doing great. Then we went to direct injection. Now, direct injection goes right in the cylinder. Now, you think about that. You have about 100 psi of combustion, so we have to overcome that with pressure. So we take a fuel pump from the system, we bring about 40 up to the mechanical fuel pump, and then this thing pumps 3,000 psi in that system, man. That's a gasoline laser cutter. Boy, that's a far cry from that junk back in 1978.
All right, thanks, man. Can you believe the fuel filter actually goes inside the carburetor on this thing?
It's so crazy complex.
It has to be complex. It's putting through 3 pounds per square inch of pressure. Huge.
It's got to be because it's sucking in so much air. We got to push the fuel in now. And speaking of that, look at this. Check out this ignition, man. It's computer controlled. There's so much electricity going on in there from that computer. We have to have this electricity shield.
Whoa, that's far out. Can you imagine if a whole car was computerized?
Man, that car would be as big as a house.
Well, Dave, computers have come a long way. We went from an ECM, engine control module, to a powertrain control module, which controlled the engine and the transmission, to a vehicle control module that controlled the whole vehicle, to individual modules. You could have 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, Dave. Woo, there's some computers on these cars today.
That is a lot of CMs right there.
But it all started in 1984 with this guy here, Onboard Diagnostics 1.
Yep, OBD1. And OBD2 is what's in cars these days. This was what started it all, though. Here's the computer itself, and then this is called the PROM. This card inside is the programmable read-only memory card. So we called it the PROM. The computer would be the same across a bunch of different models. So if you had a Cadillac Catera or a Chevy Cavalier, they had the same computer, but the PROM is what made the difference. If the car had different functions, maybe different tire size or different engine, everything was in there. And of course, you've heard about chip in your car. You get a hyper chip to make your car perform better. That was done through a PROM.
Absolutely. And then we went to 1996, Onboard Diagnostics 2. Well, there's no hole in this one because you cannot access it. Double EEPROM, read only and write. They program them. That's why you take your car into a shop and it reprograms it. Man, that's all they have today. And then now we went to CAN bus systems, Dave. Man, there could be 70, 80, 90, 100 different computers. Driver's door modules, VAT system modules, security modules, seatbelt modules, all the different computers, kind of like the networks of computers today when they're just kind of talking to each other around the world. So pretty crazy. Computers have come a long way.
Now, electronic ignition is cool, but check this out. Hot air coming off the manifold goes into the engine. Hot air's got to be better, man. Give you more power, gets rid of all the emissions issues, too.
Nice. That saves the trees. I love trees.
I saw one of these cars on Chips last night. Groovy.
And that was a good show with too many commercials.
Yeah, you think there'll be commercials in the future?